Good morning. So this morning we're going to finish the last two of the 8 limbs of yoga. And in review, in the previous tapes, you had heard about yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana. These last two, dhyana and samadhi, are considered the psychological component of the 8 limbs of yoga. You know, when you talk about asanas, the yogic postures, those are physical. They work on your joints, on your glands, on your blood flow and so forth. The mental part of the 8 limbs of yoga are dharana, which is concentration, dhyana, which is meditation, and samadhi, samadhi being the absolute meltdown of the ego, the personality, into the one throb, the one energy of the cosmos. So the self is lost forever. I'll talk about that. First we begin with dhyana. Dhyana literally means meditation. And difference between meditation and concentration is that concentration is a momentary drop of focus. But when you have enough drops of focus, then like raindrops, they join each other and you have a steady stream. So meditation means a steady, unbroken stream of concentration. Whereas dharana was one moment of concentration, dhyana, meditation, is a stream of unbroken concentration. And there are different numbers coming from different gurus in different texts. For example, Patanjali, the founder of Raja Yoga, says that 12 seconds of focus on one topic or no thought constitutes deep concentration. In the ancient text, the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna mentions that following 144 inhalations and exhalations constitutes deep meditation. So, you know, there are different gurus and sages with different standards of what constitutes good meditation. In any case, any good meditation should give you at least some of the following experiences: contentment, relaxation, love in the heart that's not related to any external circumstance, reduction in the speed of respiration, blood pressure comes down, the heart is beating slower, the brain waves decline from the busy beta waves, which are 14 cycles per second, down to typically 3.5 cycles per second, which are called the theta waves. So there are physiological changes, emotional changes, and metaphysical changes. In terms of metaphysics, let me mention something. The process of creation, if you think about it, the process of creation goes from subatomic to a couple of atoms gelling together to create an entity, like a piece of paper, for example. So in creation, we go from nothingness to a physical entity. Meditation is the opposite. In meditation, we go from a physical entity back to nothingness. It's the opposite direction to the act of creation. So meditation is a melting inward. You sit down, you start to breathe in Kriya Yoga, you start to sway your mind on the inhalation and exhalation. The brain waves start to decline from 14 cycles to 3.5 cycles, and you have a meltdown going inward. And what's really happening is that the ego, the I, the first name and the last name, start to fade. In the beginning, you just become focused on the object of meditation, like breath comes in, breath goes out. Breath comes in, breath goes out. Along with a mantra, hum, sa, hum, sa. After a while, you realize that the first name and last name of the meditator have had a meltdown. There's really no person meditating. What remains there is a witness. Witness is called pure consciousness in the Vedas. pure consciousness is a field, it's an energy field of noticing. There's some presence noticing the sound of the bird, some presence noticing that breath comes in, breath goes out, but there's no person with a passport, social security number, first name, last name. So the moment you lose your first and last name, you know that at least you've entered meditation. There's no such thing as an I meditating. As long as you have the sense of first name, last name, meditation has not begun. Now, the process of meditation is such that you observe. You observe, and anything that comes, you just observe. It's a kind of passivity, although you're being very active. You're being active as far as noticing physical sensations, noticing passing thoughts, noticing emotions. The act of noticing is active, but the fact that you're not reacting is passive. Actually, meditation takes a certain kind of energy. You're not passive and lethargic. What you're doing, you become a gatekeeper to the mind, and you're just this witness, and anything that wants to come through the gates of the mind, you watch it like a guard. Except you're not acting, you're just watching. So imagine the mind has a gate, and you're the gatekeeper. So anything that comes through, you're just watching. Same thing, you're watching physical sensations, you're watching passing emotions. That's the process of meditation. In meditation, you don't try to relax, you simply witness whatever comes and whatever goes without physically responding. The sitting posture should be like a mountain. If you're off balance, you get some negative thoughts, then that's going to knock you out. So when you sit like a mountain, you send a message to the subconscious mind that I'm not kidding around. I am the grand witness, and I'm going to watch everything. The watcher is sometimes called the dweller in the body. The ancient texts of the Vedas, they refer to the dweller in the body. The dweller in the body is actually your soul, but your soul is made of consciousness. And this grand witness, who's the gatekeeper to the mind, watching passing thoughts, is actually your soul. Even now in this garden, if you become attentive to the song of the birds without analyzing the song of the birds, it's your soul. It's your soul listening, because you're not analyzing, you're not intellectualizing, you're just hearing the bird. See, that listening without analysis, that's pure consciousness. That's your soul. Because you're not thinking, you're just here in the moment. Anyways, in this world we have several categories of meditation. Let's explain. One of them is called mindfulness meditation. It basically originates from the Far East and the person of the Buddha, the Grand Master, the Buddha. In mindfulness meditation, you simply watch. You watch the entire flow of life. So you can notice the flow of the river, you notice a pain in your thigh, you notice emotions and coming and going, you notice your breath, whether it's short, deep, jagged, whatever, and you don't interfere. In mindfulness meditation, you are simply the grand witness watching the flow of everything. And you know, some of you have done mindfulness meditation. You can even have your eyes half open. And if a motorcycle goes by the yoga studio, you can even notice that the motorcycle has gone by. So there's no official mantra or procedure. You just watch the flow of life with a lot of awareness. That's why they call it mindfulness. The theory is when you become extremely mindful, you land in the present moment. In the present moment, there's enlightenment. Why? Because you're not carrying the baggage of your past. You have no memories of your childhood. You're not upset at your stepdad. whatever. When you're intensely in the moment, there's no space for any of that. You become enlightened because you're right here. Okay? Then we have concentration meditation. In concentration meditation, like Kriya Yoga, you are focused on a particular object of meditation. Like in Kriya Yoga, we visualize that we're moving the breath into various parts of the body. So we're focused. And the intensity of the concentration takes you into bliss. In mindful meditation, the intensity of your presence right here takes you into bliss. So if you merge with the sound of that bird without any mental analysis, you can fly into bliss. That's mindfulness. In concentration meditation, you are so with the breath that the melting into the process of concentration takes you into bliss. I encourage you to think of a funnel. The funnel has a wide part at one end and a narrow funnel at the end. Okay? Mindfulness is the wide part because you're open to anything that's going to happen. Concentration meditation is the end of that funnel. It's very narrow. It's laser-like concentration. And then other types of meditations that we have movement meditation. In movement meditation, you can do a steady, flowing motion, like a ballerina or a dancer. You close your eyes, or you keep your eyes open. You do a steady, flowing movement. And after a while, this becomes boring to your intellectual mind. When the intellectual mind gets bored, you go beyond the intellectual mind into pure consciousness. So there are dancers, athletes who go into bliss because of a repetitive physical motion. Imagine bicyclists in a world tour, bicycle riding, and some of them go into bliss. Some joggers who are following the sound of their breath can go into bliss because it's repetitive motion. And the fourth category of meditation is bhava. It means prayer. Someone like the Mother Teresa, they spent hours and hours in prayer and worship. And repetitive, long, sincere, earnest prayer can get you into bliss. What are some obstacles that block deep meditation? I'll mention some of them. One of them is the sleepy mind. You know, as soon as you sit down, you start to feel groggy. If you have that grogginess, I recommend the fire breath. This fire breathing for about 3 minutes sets your body on fire and you lose your sleepiness. Other obstacles. Some people are too intellectual and too curious. They're constantly measuring to see if they've progressed in their meditation. If you're too curious, if you're measuring, if you're comparing one meditation to the next, you're self-sabotaging. Because in meditation, there is no person measuring and analyzing. The person's supposed to be gone. Another obstacle, this is huge, and it happens with most meditators. Most meditators have the illusion that meditation is reserved for tough times. In other words, you know how to meditate, but when you're feeling good, you say to yourself, well, you know, things are going well, I'm making a lot of money, my marriage or my relationship with a girlfriend is fine, so for now I'm fine. When I get stressed, I'm going to meditate. And that's the big fallacy. And meditation is not for moments of relaxation. Meditation gets you to the source of life. Every time you meditate and your brain waves come down to the quiet theta level, you're touching base with an atomic core of yourself. Meditation is superhuman power. When your brain waves get to 3.5, your metabolism comes down and you lose track of your first name and last name. You literally go into the embrace of your superhuman soul, meaning your body gets energized, your mind gets clarified, creativity comes up, hope, inspiration. It's a superhuman state. That's what deep meditation is. So it's a big mistake to think, well, life is going well right now, I'm busy at the office, this is not the time to meditate. You should wake up every morning and say, I'm not going to start the day until I spend 20 minutes in superhuman energy field to energize myself. It's no different than getting your car to a gas station or plugging your iPhone into electricity for recharging. So big mistake is occasional meditation because your nervous system never gets used to the dive. It's called transcendence. Every time you take the dive, you're transcending the busy thinking mind. So the most common mistake is people don't believe that daily meditation connects them to the source of creativity, source of abundance, source of life. What are some hints for deepening meditation? If you're a fairly serious meditator, I would recommend you get up as the sun is coming up and you do your evening meditation as the sun is going down. During those two times, the planet Earth is being bombarded by electromagnetism from other planets. And electromagnetism has a huge effect on meditation. If you ever meditate in a salt desert, you know what I mean. If you meditate next to the sea, salty areas deepen meditation because there are strong electromagnetic fields around those areas. Actually, the grand gurus of the world have named 7 spots on Earth as chakras and energy centers of the Earth. And these are very powerful places for meditation. Now, coming back to deepening of meditation, see if you can get up early with sun up early in the morning to meditate, or just as the sun is going down. Another recommendation, reserve one little corner of your home for meditation. Maybe set up some flowers, the picture of somebody that you love on a table. Reserve some sets of clothes for your worship and meditation, because these clothes are going to absorb the vibrations of meditation when you meditate in those sets of clothes daily, or when you meditate in a particular corner of your room. I had a meditation room where more than 700 people meditated over 10 years. One day a plumber and electrician came to fix something in that room. They both said, we're getting sleepier here, we're getting groggy, we can't work here. They kept opening the windows because more than 700 people had prayed and meditated. It was a fairly small room. When I mention 700, I mean over 10 years. So the room had absorbed some vibrations. Okay, now in terms of other hints for deepening meditation, basically you don't try to meditate. What you do is you slip into witness mode. You start witnessing thoughts, witnessing emotions, and then you start to follow the breath. You sway your mind on inhalation, exhalation, sway your mind on inhalation and exhalation. And as your brain waves start to quiet down, for a moment you lose track of your first name, last name, ego, personality, and that's the beginning of meditation. So there's no person trying to relax. If your mind goes to a thought, never ever fight thoughts. You simply witness a thought going by instead of fighting a thought. You don't fight anything in meditation. Even if your leg hurts, you watch the pain. Or you get up, sit on a chair, and stay still. So witnessing instead of fighting will deepen your meditation. There's no resisting of shallow meditations, and there's no attachment to deep meditations. This takes a very mature person. You might have an incredibly deep meditation last Wednesday, and then you get emotionally attached. You might even cry. It's like, Kambiz, I want to get back to that point. I've never had such a beautiful moment in my life. Even this beautiful place, Saint Georges, if you have the most beautiful moments in your life right here, and then you go home and you start missing Saint Georges, that's going to get you down, because there's a person missing Saint Georges and the deep meditation that you had here. So here's what I'm recommending. Allow the shallow meditations to be there. Allow the deep ones to be there. But whatever happens, let it go. This is not lack of emotion. This is lack of attachment. That's a recommendation. Meditation is curiosity about your inner life. In other words, every time you sit down to meditate, become an inner astronaut. People don't think that there's a huge galaxy inside them, but there's muscles twitching, there's electrical signals going up and down the nervous system, there's changes in breathing quality. The inside of you is as huge as a galaxy. If you adopt the attitude of an inner astronaut, and you go swimming inside during meditation, that attitude will really help you. You become curious about an entire galaxy inside yourself. You are watching your inner world during meditation. Okay, now I want to get you to the last limb of yoga. It's called Samadhi. Samadhi is real. It's happened to many people in history. Samadhi is a moment when all concepts of my body, myself, my name, my job, all of that melts into a flow. And the flow that you melt into is a pulse, a vibration that embraces all of us on Earth and every other planet in multiple galaxies. According to quantum physics and ancient yoga, who you call my Lord is a pulsating vibration of love and life-giving energy. In other words, God is defined by the Vedas, by the scriptures, yogic scriptures of India, as a pulsation of conscious, loving energy. Samadhi happens at a moment when your entire sense of me, my body, my car, my profession, my skin color, all of that suddenly melts into a throb. And all of the ancient scriptures of India describe the primordial sound of this pulsation as Om. I mean, if you want to spell it, it's either O-M or A-U-M. That's nonsense. That's just spelling. Om. Something like this. If you plug your ears and listen deeply, the inner silence in your body is actually saying Om. Om is not a word. It's a primordial sound. It's the vibration of the pulse of the Lord in space and underneath the atom. We have different levels of samadhi, And within every level of samadhi, we have different gradations of samadhi. First, let me tell you something. There is nothing that you can do to achieve samadhi. The greatest thing you can do to achieve samadhi is to stay with your heart, keep your heart open, stay with your spiritual practice, enjoy your daily practice, enjoy your life, give yourself a lot of self-love, and enjoy the journey. People who are regular with their meditation, they enjoy their journey, they're having fun already, and they're not super expectant of samadhi, get there faster. Because the expectation comes from the ego, and ego has no place in samadhi. That's one recommendation. The second thing is, at the moment of samadhi, there's the God force who wants to grace you with the highest level of meditation, and also the guru, the teacher, is so moved by your earnestness that they almost plead with the God force, the life force. The guru acts as a liaison and pleads for your passage into nothingness or samadhi. So the guru is the liaison between you and the creative force, which is already inside you, by the way. Samadhi is not a matter of climbing a Himalayan mountain, and when you get to the peak, you reach samadhi. Samadhi is already inside you. It's just that the eyelids are shut right now. Why are your eyelids shut? Very simple. It's called the case of the mistaken identity. If you call yourself Catherine, you're off. Nature doesn't understand Catherine. If you realize that I'm alive because the God force is making my heart beat, you can immediately go into samadhi. It's always available to you. The moment you drop your mistaken identity, you're already in samadhi. It's not waiting at some mountain top. Forget that idea. It's an awakening experience. It's when the eyelids open. That's when samadhi happens. It's right here, right now. That should make you happy. It's not something to be attained. It's more like the eyelids open. You drop this name Catherine and the sensation of Catherine and my body and my property and my passport, and then you just fly into samadhi. The ego is afraid of it. The ego thinks if Catherine is gone, I'll be dead. That's not true. You'll be living heaven on earth because there's no pride, no prejudice, no anger, no jealousy. You're just efficient. You're joyful. You're blissful. Your mind is super concentrated. Let me talk about the different types of samadhi. We have one samadhi called samadhi with seed. And what this means is, in a moment of enlightenment, the name Catherine, the notion of the physical body, my job, my car, my property, all of that melts into a moment of absolute emptiness. You melt into this throb of silence. But in samadhi with seed, there are bubbles of thought floating by. There are pulses of emotions floating by, but there's a grand witness watching them. So in samadhi with seed, there is a witness watching passing thoughts, emotions, and very light shadows of physical sensations, although the one in samadhi is looking out at the body. So when you're in samadhi with seed, there are physical sensations, but you're already kind of away from the body. So we have thoughts, emotions, physical sensations yards away. They're just floating by like bubbles, but there's a grand witness watching. The next level of samadhi, the witness is still there, but physical sensations and thoughts are gone. In other words, your brainwave activity reaches 0.5 cycles per second. To a neurologist, that's the state of coma. But at the second level of samadhi, there cannot be thought because the mind is completely still. What remains is what we call consciousness. In all of yoga, they say God is made of consciousness. So in the second level of samadhi, there's like a witness listening to everything, watching everything. But it's not a person. It's this grand, calm, centered, blissful witness. By the way, as I describe these levels of samadhi, then each one has different gradations. So it's not like an elevator that you take and go from first floor to second floor. It's not like that. It's a lot of subtle gradations. Now, when we go to the next level of samadhi, that one is called Seedless Samadhi. In Seedless Samadhi, even the witness is gone. So, no physical sensations, no thoughts, no witness. You have become the pulse of the universe. In Seedless Samadhi, you're not functioning as part of society. Somebody in Seedless Samadhi sitting in a city bus cannot talk to the driver. There's no sense of direction. Street signs are meaningless because you are at one with the pulse, with the cosmic pulse of the universe. Basically, you're like a beacon of light. If you just look at people, they start sobbing with feelings of love. All you've got to do is look at somebody and they start sobbing with feelings of intense love. They get electrified. Now, there's a variation of Seedless Samadhi. A variation of Seedless Samadhi is that you have gone to the same intense level of samadhi, except you come back to society to help people. So again, there is no person, there is no witness, there are no thoughts, but you have come back to help society. And that one is called Sahaja Samadhi. In Sahaja Samadhi, you look into that person's eyes and there's nobody behind the eyeballs. So I knew somebody who had been in Sahaja Samadhi, and a Coca-Cola bottle went into his feet this deep. And the statement was, foot hurts. It wasn't my foot hurts. So when you look into their eyes, there's no personality behind the eye. However, they're in society and they're helping millions of people. That's Sahaja Samadhi. And then there's Bhava Samadhi. I don't know, I didn't know Mother Teresa. I would guess that somebody like that may have reached it. In that kind of samadhi, you are in worship day and night. You are in worship of Jesus Christ, of the Buddha, of your Guru. And constant, incessant worship gets you into continuous flowing bliss. You know, because if you're incredibly in love with a God or a guru or even your twin sister, you know, intense love gets rid of your ego. If you're intensely in love, this name Peter or Catherine just dissolves. And therefore, in intense worship, you lose yourself in the beloved. The Persian poet Rumi had that kind of relationship with his guru, Shams. And that's basically where the 8 limbs of yoga finish. So we start with yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. By the time you reach samadhi, you can be sitting in these prairies and feel completely one with the one force that creates everything, and that force is intelligent. You'll never feel lonely again, because wherever you go, this pulse is right in front of your eyes, is in your heartbeat, is everywhere. I wish that for you. Lots of love, and we'll join each other for another talk.